頑張ってね。克服して。
Hello everybody, welcome to a new YouTube video. So on this video, I want to share with you all some tips on how to study Japanese. So I know that studying Japanese is really hard, especially if you're coming from an English speaking language, because the grammar rules are just completely different, and then it uses a completely different alphabet system. Now, the tips that I want to share with you all, it's not like for beginners, it's more for like upper beginner, intermediate. I feel like there's a lot of tips on how to like get started in Japanese, but not for like intermediate people. So I kind of want to share more for intermediate people, how I am at current level as an intermediate study now. Alright, so the tips that I want to focus on in this video focuses on 3 areas, which is going to be grammar, listening, and vocabulary. I feel like if you are able to understand, fully utilize these tools, then speaking would just come natural at the end. Because if you could listen really well, you could listen to conversation. If you could have a high level vocabulary, then you could produce the vocabulary. So I feel like if you focus on these 3 areas and you become proficient at them, then you are able to have a full-on Japanese conversation. Alright, so the first thing that I want to recommend is this book. It's called 15 Minute Japanese, and you can learn everything in just 12 weeks. That's what you need. It's only 15 minutes every day, and then in 12 weeks you learn everything. And it teaches you a bunch of different stuff, as you can see right there. Yeah, I don't know what it teaches you actually, because I never read this book. Who needs it, right? So those garbages, never buy. They will not teach you anything. They just try to promote like, hey, you can learn a new language in just 15 minutes a day. Okay, cool. But you cannot learn a language in just 15 minutes per day. That's just not enough time for you to kind of like your brain process all the information. So I would stay away from those type of books. Instead, I would probably recommend something more like this. This is what I used to read. This is Japanese stories for language learners. Now, what I like about this book, let me show you, is that it has like questions, as you can see, questions after the reading, so it could kind of like see if you understood what the reading was about. And also it has exercises too, so like all the exercises ask you like, oh, so how will you say this word in a specific context, or just like, what did the person said. And also another thing that I like about it is that it has all the vocabulary, every single vocabulary and grammar rule that they used in the reading. And so pretty much, let's say, let me give you an example. So right here, this one right here, this is read as umibe. I have never seen umibe, that word, in my life. So if you go back here, umibe, it's right there. Umibe, and umibe is seashore. So it has every single word there. So now you go back and you're like, okay, mukashi mukashi aru umibe no mura ni. So now you could be like, oh, okay, so umibe means this. And yeah, you could just like practice like that. I like practicing like that because I hate sometimes going back to Google Translate and translating it, or using a dictionary to just translating words. I think that's just a hassle. Instead, here I just go to the back of the reading, I find the word, and I can just keep reading. Also, if you're not understanding, it has the English translation here, in case you're like, oh, I think I understood what it means, but you don't really understand what it means. It's just there. It has it there translated for you. I don't know if there's other versions of this for other languages. I guess you just have to look for it. And it also comes with a free audio disc. I have never used the audio disc. I probably should. I'm planning to, but I don't have a audio disc player. Also, another thing that I like to do is all the new words, all the words that are in the back. Instead of just looking them up and then just continue reading, I like to just write them down to kind of like help me memorize them too. It's like, okay, I saw it first, I searched up what it means, I read it again, and I write it down. So next time you read the book, you don't have to, oh, I remember this word, but I forgot what it means. You kind of just want to be able to read it without like keep checking it every time. So that's the goal for each reading that you read. And what I like about this book too is that first it will introduce new kanjis and it will have the little hiragana on top. But later on, if the kanji is reset it or restated, it won't have the little hiragana. So it will help you memorize kanjis that you have previously learned. And then if you don't remember what it means, you can always go back and be like, oh, so this is what it means. So it helps you just remember kanji, vocabulary, basic Japanese grammar. So I think this book, it's a really, really, really good book, even if you're starting off or you're intermediate, because it has a lot of words that you probably don't even use. Alright, so the second source of reading that I want to recommend is going to NHK EC News. So pretty much here it has just a bunch of like newses from daily, or you could go back to the day before. You just keep going back. What I like about this place is that the news, it's really simple. It's extremely easy. As you can see, this is it. This is just a tiny little section of the news article, and it has like the little hiragana on top of the kanji. So it also helps you if you don't know that many kanjis, you can also keep practice reading here. And it also has the audio source here, if you want to practice listening after you read it.
家でイヤホンをして仕事をする人に
And you see it's not that fast, it's pretty slow. And yeah, this is pretty much, if you combine this with the book that I recommended, the Japanese stories, pretty much that's all you need to use to practice. Okay, now I have recommended you everything I use for reading. I know there's other reading sources out there, but those are the ones that I use the most. What I like about the Easy News is that it pretty much shows like things that are happening on the daily life, so you can pretty much learn words that probably are used more frequently. And then with the old Japanese stories, you can pretty much just learn words that are not used as often. So I would say that those two sources are the best to start off. And now I want to get into the listening part of Japanese. Alright, so for practicing listening, there are many different sources out there. You could use Netflix, podcast, YouTube, and I'm pretty sure there's many others out there. I mostly use Netflix and YouTube. YouTube, I usually like to watch kid shows like Shimajiro and Sasae-san, mostly because they use really simple Japanese, and it's really good if you are not really good at listening, and also because they don't contain super high level vocabulary. It's really easy to understand, especially if you're just like kind of tired, you don't want to be thinking too much, and you just want to like enjoy something and practice Japanese listening. This is the best way to do that. So I would like to show you some things that I like to do when I watch on YouTube. I like to use this Google Chrome extension that allows me to see the subtitles on the side, as you can see right here. It has the entire script right here. Also, if there are words that I don't know, I could literally just search them up on the spot. Honestly, sometimes it works, but sometimes there's a little bit of mismatch. Now I know that kids show is not for everybody, so that's why I want to also recommend to you one of my favorite Japanese YouTubers. Her name is Akane Sensei, and the reason why I like her YouTube channel is because she usually does like hour-long live streams, which you could tune into and interact with her on the group chat. And if you cannot, because of like personal reasons or the time zones, she usually saves the videos, the live streams on her YouTube channel. It's one of the reasons why I really like watching her videos is because she usually has the specific topics for her videos, right? So this one is about food, and there's other ones about like job hunting, and it's all in Japanese. So it provides a lot of like new vocabulary for those specific topics, right? And also for Japanese, it's really like clear. You could clearly understand. She speaks really slow, and it's really good to also use the subtitle thing that I provided before. With this, you could probably like listen to her and also just like search up new words that you don't know. Honestly, I think I've been learning a lot of new vocabulary from watching Akane Sensei, so I highly recommend you checking her out. So I would also like to introduce a website that I like to use to practice vocabulary. The website is called I Know Japanese Core 1000. It's pretty much there's different cores. I think there's all the way to the 9th or the 10th. I don't really remember. Pretty much is saying that this is the first 1000 words that you should know, and you will get to a low intermediate level after you have learned all of them. And I'm pretty sure they go all the way from beginning all the way to advanced. I think I have made it all the way to core 3000 so far. Now, I like to probably study around 10 words per day. And I like it because it contains like vocabulary. It also contains sample sentences and an image in case you need it. So yeah, it's pretty useful if you want to check it out. I recommend you using this to practice vocabulary. And now we would like to go to the last segment, which will be practicing Japanese listening with Netflix. So I got the extension for Netflix to practice language learning, as well as the on-the-spot dictionary that I'm using, that I also used on YouTube. To pretty much combine those two, I'm using also Anki cards to pretty much all the vocabulary that I get from Netflix. I'm adding it to my Anki card right here, and then it has like the word, and then it has this.
入居
Has the audio, it has the sample sentence, and it has a definition. So you could also do this with YouTube. All your new vocabulary words, you could add them into Anki. Also with the I Know website. Also with any other readings, you could add them all into Anki. Now this specific format, I did not do it myself. I actually got it from a different YouTuber called Mad vs. Japan. I will provide his video in the description if you want to get your setup like this. I think it's a really useful setup to practice listening and also going from listening to practicing your vocabulary. So yeah, pretty much those are all the tools that I've been using up until now. I have tried many different things, but I think this is the one that I like the most. So yeah, if you liked the video, please remember to like and subscribe. I will be posting other videos about learning probably kanji, how I study kanji. I'm not too sure. Let me know what you would like to watch. But yeah,